Hi and welcome to a new video where I ramble about something that I find interesting, and before this has always been internet stuff, but today we're going to talk about something from history because I found it interesting. Some time ago I learned that Queen Victoria helped people during the potato famine in Ireland by wearing crocheted lace, and I found that really interesting because I crochet a lot, as you can see. But then someone commented on a video where I told that to people that she also caused the potato famine, which I did not know anything about that because they don't teach that in Dutch schools and apparently also not in British schools. So I wanted to dive deeper into it and make a video about it because it's important and fun to learn about such things because the government won't tell us that, so we need to learn it ourselves. And history is interesting because we can learn a lot from it to help prevent stuff from happening in the future as well. So that's why I'm talking about it. I have compiled some facts that I will share with you, and after that we will decide if Queen Victoria was the asshole in the situation or not the asshole, to keep it working in this modern age on the internet. Was Queen Victoria the asshole? Before we begin, I'm going to beg you to subscribe, but for a very good reason. I'm currently in art school and I'm enjoying it very, very much, but it's really expensive, so I wanted to ask you to subscribe because you would help me a lot and I will really appreciate it. And if you can and want to, I sell these cuties online and you can find them in the description. If you do buy one of them, I will donate a part to Doctors Without Borders because I find that really important. And I'm currently making a little zine about ADHD and self-medicating with coffee, for example, because I have a lot of experience with that. And I'm going to sell that for like €5 because that's a lot cheaper than crochet, sadly, but crochet takes a lot of time. So if you want to get something cheaper that I made and it's also very, very funny, I think, yeah, I will share more about that very soon with you, and I'm really, really, really excited about that. Now, I would recommend you to get a cup of tea or something and something to craft because that's fun, and then let's get started. The main character in the potato famine is, of course, potatoes. You can make them as fries. Yeah, I think that's how I like them. I will eat them in other forms as well, and sometimes like it too, but fries are the best. Anyways, in the 1840s in Ireland, potatoes were the main source of food for most Irish people because the crop is sturdier than grain and potatoes are just really versatile and good for you to eat. I'm not exaggerating when I say that people ate potatoes for breakfast, lunch and dinner during this time in Ireland. Hobbits also eat a lot of potatoes, I believe. It might be based on like Irish and English eating behavior. Also, Ireland was still part of England at this time. In 1845, the potato crop in Ireland failed because the potato crop got really sick. So the main food source of an entire country just did not exist for that year. If that would have happened only once, it would still have been a disaster, but not as bad as it was, because the potato crop did not only fail for 1 year, but it failed for a lot of years in a row. People couldn't just go fly to Italy to eat pizza at that time, so you get that this was a really big, gigantic problem. The potato crop kept failing for 4 years in a row, which gigantic disaster. Nobody could eat anymore in Ireland. This also made that people could not afford other food sources anymore in Ireland because they got really expensive. Quick economy lesson: if a lot of people need something specific, the prices go up a lot. Because the demand, based on how much people are willing to pay for that thing, determines the price of a product. So if a lot of people want it and it's really necessary for them, they are willing to pay a lot, so it becomes very, very expensive to keep up with the demand. To make things even worse, the English government was still preventing their citizens to buy or import grains from other countries to protect British farmers. This actually happens a lot in the world, and it makes a lot of sense because sometimes other countries can produce something for cheaper, and then the other farmers from your own country cannot sell their product anymore, and so they don't have a job anymore. So it sometimes is very important to do this, and it happens a lot still, and most of the times it works. But in this case, the British grain became really expensive because they didn't have enough to feed the entirety of Ireland and England. So yeah, the prices went up, as we already talked about, and nobody could buy food anymore. And they also could not buy grain from other countries. Also, I'm specifically talking about grain because it's the most sensible substitute for potatoes. You might ask yourself now, what on earth does Queen Victoria have to do with this? Well, first of all, as I said before, Ireland was not an independent country at the time. It was a colony of England, and Queen Victoria was reigning over England and all of its colonies, including India and Australia and some more countries at that time. Back to the comment telling me that Queen Victoria caused the potato famine. I think it's very obvious that she did not go to Ireland to put a sickness in the ground or the air or whatever that caused the potato crop to fail. She did not do that. I think somewhere it would have said it if she did that. I mean, also nobody's saying that she didn't do it, so you never know. But you know, I think we can assume that she did not. It's just that Queen Victoria had a lot of other different things on her agenda. One of the things a monarch has to do, definitely in that time period, is bear children to keep the country or the territories in their family. Now, this was more important to Queen Victoria than the entire population of Ireland, not because she loved children so much, but quite literally the opposite. She disliked them a lot, and people say that she was known for having huge fits of rage during her pregnancies. And now it's happened that 4 out of her 8 children were born during the Irish potato famine. So she was busy being mad a lot, I think. We already talked about that England had a lot of colonies at the time, so Queen Victoria was not only reigning over Ireland and England, but also Australia, India, and a lot of other places, so she kept pretty busy with doing that too. And besides colonization being a really bad thing, I already find it hard enough to keep my own house in order, let alone multiple gigantic territories that are not even in the same hemisphere. On top of that, Queen Victoria just seemed to care about what she wanted to care about. An article I read had the following quote: "She had a delight mingling with the Scottish poor." Now, I'm not sure if this actually happened during the potato famine itself, but I think it's still weird. Now, I'm also not really sure what the writer of the article meant with mingling, but for some reason it feels like an insult to everyone that has less money than Queen Victoria. One of my brain cells is actually imagining Queen Victoria at a table in a Scottish tavern drinking whiskey with poor Scottish people, while the Irish people are standing outside looking through the window and begging to be able to come in. I think my political illustration teacher has got in my head, but I started painting a little picture. I'm not done yet, but I'm still gonna show you, because showing people unfinished ugly art is what I do apparently. But this is what I imagine. As you can see, it's not done, but the Irish people obviously have red hair because Irish people all have red hair. I know that it's not true, but it's a stereotype, and for political illustration that works really well. And she's sitting here in a blue dress with a crown that I haven't painted yet, drinking whiskey with some Scottish guys and having fun. Yeah, anyways, Queen Victoria seemed way too busy to be caring about the Irish potato famine until 1849. In this year, Queen Victoria finally lifted the ban on importing non-British grain to Ireland. So people slowly gained access to food again. Very slowly. But before she did that, about 1 million Irish people had already died and about another 1 million had already moved countries. So the damage was pretty much done at this point. I think Queen Victoria failed to protect her citizens here, which is kind of your job when you're ruling a country. She did not directly cause the potato famine, but I do think she is a gigantic villain here. because she could have done something earlier. I still like that crocheting helped people get through this time in Ireland, so I will still explain to you how that worked. Royalty were like gigantic influencers during this time, so if they were a specific type of clothing, all the aristocrats also wanted to wear that because it was in style at that moment. Queen Victoria happened to be into wearing crocheted lace at this time, so that became really popular. It kind of looks like this. The lace was made out of cotton, which is not a really expensive material to buy, so people in Ireland were able to get that and crochet lace and sell it for much more expensive, because crochet is a really labor intensive thing to do. So if you make something, you can sell it for way more than the materials cost, because it just costs a lot of time to make it. So some people did that and were able to get some more money to actually buy food for their family. So I think that is pretty cool. Queen Victoria is still the asshole here, but I also think you can say that crochet saves lives. Sometimes. Well, that is what I wanted to talk about with you today. If you know more historically kind of fake topics that you want me to dive into, please let me know. And also I will link all my sources in the description, of course, so you can read and listen to them yourself. If you like my video, please tap that wonderful shiny like button and the wonderful shiny subscribe button. I would appreciate that a lot. You can follow my daily shenanigans at my Insta under this handle, and then I will see you next time. Ciao!